Hello and welcome to this episode of The Road to Recovery for the Southern Gold Coast. My name is Zac, and today we're going to be focusing in on the tourism industry. Now, there's a bit of an inarguable link between the hospitality and tourism industry, but we won't be approaching the hospitality industry as that will be approached in a separate episode. Today, we're focusing on those sort of largest tourist operators and outlets, such as accommodations and thrill-seeking and sort of entertainment as well. So joining us today to talk about those large-scale tourist operations is the General Manager of Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary and Gold Member of the Greater Southern Gold Coast Chamber of Commerce, Michael Kelly. Michael, how are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me today, Zac.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. So we'll dive straight in. Obviously, we've asked you to join us today. You are a sort of industry leader for tourism, and you've got a big history in tourism and a bit in hospitality as well. Would you mind giving us a bit of a picture of your history and current role in tourism industry?
Yeah, for sure. So I've worked in tourism and hospitality for the last 20 years, predominantly in hotels and casinos, and have been at the sanctuary here for the last 7 years. And I've been GM here at the sanctuary for the last 4 years. So I've certainly seen a significant amount of change in those last 4 years. And, you know, it's been great to be part of an evolution of the sanctuary.
So as we head now into our first question, forgive me as we're doing this via Zoom, we might be a little bit out of skew. So diving straight in, the big silver lining for COVID-19, everybody had to learn how to adapt and they had to learn really quick. So my question to you is, how did Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary and the wider sort of tourism industry adapt to COVID-19? And was it good? Did it work, or was it a bit of a flat line?
Yeah, I guess for us, our journey with COVID-19 commenced back in January. Being a venue that sees a significant amount of international visitors to the sanctuary, we could see what was happening on a more global scale than I guess a couple of our other industry colleagues. So back in probably mid-January, we started to make preparations for what a pandemic could look like and what processes and procedures we needed to change within our own business. I was also fortunate. I went on holidays to the States, and it was actually a bit reassuring to see that the processes that we had put in place hadn't been put in place in the States, and we're only starting to consider that when I was leaving the States. So when I came back to Australia and everything started to get a lot worse, it really reinforced that what we had done back in January was the right thing to do. And then come, the end of March, and March 23rd will, be a day that lives in infamy for the sanctuary. And that's the day that we had to make the decision to close, which was the first time in the sanctuary's 73-year history that we've had to make a decision to close based on a global pandemic. And 3 months later, we're in this position now. We're able to reopen, which we're really thankful for. But it's been certainly an interesting journey that we've had to go through throughout that time.
Yeah, and obviously Currumbin only closes 2 days of the year. So do you know off the back of your hand how many days you were closed for, or have been closed for?
Yes, we'll end up being 3 months, pretty close to. So yeah, it's been the longest time in our history that we've been closed for.
So now, sort of focusing on the industry as a whole and focusing on the Southern Gold Coast specifically, what, in your perspective, does the road ahead look like for tourism here on the Southern Gold Coast?
Yeah, tourism is incredibly resilient. We're really resilient as an industry, and I think we will come out of this quite strong, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And that's, I think, as an industry, we need to pull together, and we need to be working together over the next 12 to 18 months. Certainly from a domestic viewpoint, we're going to see strong domestic visitation. We've already seen that Gold Coast is the #1 searched destination domestically in the last couple of weeks through our airline partners. And so we need to harness that. And, obviously that will, be made a lot easier if the borders were opened. But so domestically, I think Gold Coast is in a really strong position, and we should capitalize on that. International recovery, I think, is going to be a little bit longer. we won't really see good recovery out of international destinations until 2021. And I don't think we're going to recover to pre-COVID-19 levels until 2023. But what's, I think positive is we're going to see some good travel out of our, partners like New Zealand, the Pacific Islands. I think Japan will see some good growth out of in the coming years. And then some of our more traditional markets will take a little bit longer to recover.
Yeah, and it's definitely a market that somewhat, it's got a big domestic, it's got a big international, so and a big intrastate. So when you're talking about closing borders, whether it's between states or nationally and internationally, it's just it obviously puts a big strain on places like Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary and tourism to continue to operate.
Absolutely, so, and particularly for us, we over 50% of our business comes from international destinations, and they're from countries all around the world. It's not honed in on any one particular country. So every country is going to deal with this differently, and it's going to have a different recovery process. So that's what's going to stretch out that recovery for the Gold Coast as well.
Obviously, the biggest challenge for COVID-19 was businesses had to close their doors, what that looked like, how they were going to adapt, all of that. That was a pretty big challenge to overcome. So heading into the road to recovery, what do you foresee being sort of the biggest challenge facing the tourism industry?
I think probably the number one challenge will be come October. I think our industry at the moment is a little bit sitting in a bit of a bubble with the JobKeeper package that's currently sitting there. I think come October becomes the reality. And if the demand's not there, we're going to be in a bit of strife as an industry. Fortunately, I think the summer school holiday periods are going to be very strong, based on the fact that a lot of domestic people won't be traveling overseas necessarily. They will be traveling in their own backyard. And the Gold Coast is the best venue to come to experience summer in Australia. So I think that is great. But the reality is, that period between October and November and early December is going to be very tough for operators. Post-summer, I think we will start to see a recovery quite well, but it does mean that businesses are going to have to change the way in which they do things. And I know certainly from our point of view at the Sanctuary, we go into this next 12 months with no illusion that our business stays the same. Our business has to evolve. We have to be show innovation and change the way in which we do things. And that's going to be disappointing for some of our visitors, but it's also going to be a real positive for other visitors. So, we are using this crisis as an opportunity to reassess our operation generally and move forward with some new plans and projects. So that's, we see it as an exciting time. And like I mentioned it before, tourism is dynamic. We will see it come back bigger and better than ever.
Absolutely, yeah, and that I think it'll be a big bounce back. It'll be very exciting. So, what can if I was a local business owner, say for example, I owned a cafe, and as I mentioned earlier, there's a bit of an inarguable link between tourism and hospitality. So I'm a small business owner on the Southern Gold Coast. What should I be doing now to be preparing for the road ahead? And what is Currumbin doing now to prepare for the road ahead?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things I'd certainly say to any business owner at this particular moment in time is get your COVID safe plans done. I think that plan sets the tone in terms of your trading, what you're able to do and how you trade over the next coming months. We don't know how long this crisis is going to be around for and the pandemic itself. So as a business, you need to be able to deal with how to change your business and deal with the fact of social distancing could be here for 6 to 12 months, how to deal with, high touch point areas and how you cleanse that and so forth. I think that's probably the first thing I'd say is make sure you've got your own COVID safe plan. Whilst there's industry plans that are out there, I use that as your base, but I still think you should apply that to your individual business. Certainly from the Sanctuary's point of view, we were able to use an industry-based COVID safe plan, but we actually felt that it was a bit weak for our point of view. And we went and then developed a 70-page COVID-safe plan. Now, we're a unique business, and I'm not suggesting that any business out here on the Southern Gold Coast go and create a 70-page COVID-safe plan. It's a nightmare, trust me. But it basically helps us set the framework in terms of what our business does over the next 6 months, in terms of the way in which we interact with our visitors, how we interact with our staff, how we interact with all of our key stakeholders, is all contained within that document. So I'd definitely encourage that. And then the second point I'd also make is to really have a look at your business and your general operations. It's going to mean creating efficiencies, using technology, changing the way in which you do business. Now is the best time to be making changes to your business. So I definitely would encourage people to use innovation, and those ideas that they've put on the back burner for a while, do something with them. Create something new and different that your customers haven't seen before, because you need to, you've got some loyal customers at the moment. You want them to be loyal for the next coming 12 to 18 months as well.
Yeah, and if I can, I'm just going to chuck a bit of a surprise question at you, because there's sort of when there's a big discussion around some businesses and being unsure of what to do when you talk about embracing technology. There's a lot of businesses that have simply thrown their hands in the air and said, look, I don't know how to embrace technology. My business doesn't do that. I don't understand how I could do that to my most optimal best. Obviously, Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary has been around for 72 years. I think it's 71, 72 years. And it's a business that isn't traditionally not something you can offer online. How did Currumbin sort of embrace that technological world to optimize and adapt to the situation?
Yeah, I think we do it through a number of different ways, and we've been on the technology journey for a while now. That's right through to the fact that we've moved all of our servers and so forth to cloud-based technology. We were using video conferencing before it was cool to use video conferencing. We obviously have e-commerce platforms that we use very much so from our ticketing and marketing point of view. But we also employ some very talented people in the digital space that really push search engine optimization, that look at digital marketing, and that work in those spaces that really pushes our brand to a whole different audience. And that was daunting at first. We didn't have much experience in that. We were a traditional business model as such. But a couple of years ago, we made the decision to get into the digital space more so than we do anything else. We don't do print media anymore. We don't do TV advertising and so forth. We are very heavy in the digital space now, and that has worked really well for us. And then certainly on site, we do a lot of other things in terms of augmented reality. We're looking at different options to do with citizen science, using high-tech cameras to be able to tell how animals are feeling and so forth. So definitely, I think we're not a traditional business that you would think that you could use and embrace technology for, but we've definitely been able to find ways to do so. And if we can find ways to do so, any business out there can find ways to embrace technology.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think it's that ability to adapt, think outside the box, and really just see the opportunity that it is, because it's easy in those difficult times. And when you've been doing, as another guest said before, when you're doing the day-to-day, it's hard to think beyond that. And so when you can, and this is your opportunity to, it can really benefit your business. So final question here. I'm going to chuck this one at you, because it's a way for the business community to get to know the Michael Kelly that I know. As restrictions ease, what are you most looking forward to returning to? And because the Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary has that amazing cafe, I'm going to ask you for your general manager recommendation from the Sanctuary Cafe for when I next go in.
Well, in answer to that question, I had the burger today. It was delicious. I would highly recommend coming in and trying some of the food. We have an award-winning chef here who is brilliant, and we're about to relaunch a new menu, which is fantastic. But in terms of what I'm looking forward to most when we get back to the new normal, is working with our team. I guess being in isolation for the last 3 months has been a challenge, and I've probably been the busiest I've ever been. But not having our team around me has really shown that we have an amazing team that are here and that are passionate about what they do on a day-to-day basis. And I love collaborating with them. What we do here is not about what I do, it's about what we do as an organization. And I'm looking forward to being able to collaborate face-to-face with them, in the coming months ahead. And I'm looking forward to having guests back in our park. We've really missed our guests, and we can't wait to have them. Our animals have missed guests. So the sanctuary is a great place at any time of the day, but our guests and our staff make it that much better. So that's I guess some of the things I'm looking forward to.
Lovely. Well, Michael, that wraps up our interview for today. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Zach.
And thank you to all those who have joined us for today's episode. As always, please like this video, share with your friends, comment below if you think someone would benefit from watching this. You can also like the Facebook page. If you'd like to subscribe to the weekly newsletter that we release, you can jump onto our website and do so. And finally, if you're looking to connect with your business community here on the Southern Gold Coast, you can sign up to a membership with the Greater Southern Gold Coast Chamber of Commerce via our website. So please don't hesitate to do so. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode.